All right. Welcome to another episode of Bullheaded, episode 29. I'm here with P. Bush and Zoo. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Got to see the Packers lose this past weekend. Great feeling. Tom Brady still holding that position. I think we can completely nullify Zoo's argument for Rodgers last week on the podcast. Got anything to say for that, Zoo?
I have to first say, I got to give myself a pat on the back because preseason, I picked the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. I knew they were the two best teams. But as a Packers fan, I was sad, man. I went to bed after the game, man. I took a nap to sleep it off because, man. As a Packers fan, it was disgraceful how they lost, man. Disgraceful. And and Tom Brady didn't even play that well. That man threw 3 picks. He threw 3 picks, and he still won the game.
Yeah. That's how good he is.
Oh, that's how lucky he is that his defense was unbelievable.
So was the Packers.
No. It was just Tom Brady making noob moves, man. Like, who was he throwing it to, man?
Out of bounds, supposedly.
Just a bunch of jump balls.
Yeah. Embarrassing.
But we're gonna get into the NFC Championship games. You know, as Zoo alluded to, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, they were kind of shaky in the middle of the season, kind of making a couple of games look a little weird, and we're all wondering if they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl, but I've gotten to the point, man. I gotta stop doubting Tom Brady, man. I just gotta stop. So I'm gonna let people start it off. You know, the Bills and Chiefs also play, but I think he's gonna probably start with the Bucks and Packers. So go ahead and go.
Yeah, I mean, this was a great game. I mean, I was genuinely surprised at how quickly the Bucks started that game. I mean, honestly, the worst player in that entire game. We could talk about Rodgers. We could talk about Aaron Jones, struggling a lot during that game against a good rush defense, so you can't, hold too much against him. But he had less than 2 yards a carry. That's pretty bad. But, man, I got to put some blame on Kevin King. That cornerback, man, blowing coverages left and right. How do you let Scotty Miller get behind you with 4 seconds left in the first half, and you let him score a touchdown? With 1 second, hell, he could have incompleted that, and they still would have been able to kick a field goal because he blew by him that quickly. That is embarrassing. I have no words to say whether or not they should keep him next year. I don't know if he's under contract or not. But look, Rodgers has to take some blame here, man. I mean, now he has the same amount of NFC Championship wins as Tom Brady. Let's be honest. I mean, they each have 1. Same with Drew Brees. That's pretty embarrassing, man. Those are 2 of the most iconic NFC quarterbacks, and it takes Tom Brady 1 year to bring in the talent. And obviously joining a good team, solid defense, they had weapons. He made them even better, and he gets back to where he belongs, man. He has a better percentage of getting to the Super Bowl than Steph Curry does hitting a three-pointer. I thought that was one of the craziest stats. Obviously a small sample size, so you can't compare them. But, man, do not doubt this man. Tom Brady deserves to be there. This is an iconic moment in the NFL. A guy who's played at the same franchise for 20 years goes and joins a completely different conference, a team that has been struggling for years, and he brings them to the Super Bowl in his first year, man. This is destiny at its finest. We have a great destined matchup with Mahomes and Brady. I am super pumped about that. But, Zoo, I'll let you talk about your sorrows now.
As a Packers fan, I felt it, man. I felt it. When we were favored by 3, I was like, favored by 3? No way, man. I don't care if it's a home game, man. I said it was a straight-up pick-em, man. 3-point spread, man. Vegas loving the Packers. Not me, man. I was nervous, man. I was nervous against this roster because I knew that defense, man. That defense that actually stepped it up and made Aaron Rodgers go 3 and out multiple times in the fourth quarter, man. Yeah. Tom Brady in the fourth quarter throws a pick. I'm like, Aaron Rodgers, this is your time to shine, man. Let's get it going, man. MVP Marquez Valdez-Scantling, that dude's getting open, man. He got some nice catches that game, man. He got some nice moves going on. I'm just like, what is going on, man? What is going on with MVC? You got Devontae Adams, man. Aaron Jones, even though that fumble, man. Oh, man. Dude, because Aaron Jones technically fumbled twice, but one of them was just recovered, so they got lucky on that. That guy just went straight into it. That was a great play. I give the defense.
It was a perfect play.
Yeah, I give the defense the credit for that. But when Aaron Jones fumbled that ball, I'm just like, damn. And you got Aaron Rodgers even throwing a pick, too. And Tom Brady, man. I'm just saying, Tom Brady gives you this golden opportunity of multiple picks in the fourth quarter. And what does Rodgers do?
He was just
no
teasing
touchdowns. Just no touchdowns, man. No touchdowns. 3 and out. After the back-to-back 3 and outs, man. And that last possession, man. That last possession. They got into the red zone and they couldn't capitalize. And they were one of the best red zone offenses in the NFL.
Yep.
One of the best red zone offenses, and they got stuffed. And then on fourth down, I don't know what they were thinking, kicking the field goal. Man, you're trying to win.
Without the onside, too, to follow. They didn't even onside it.
Bro.
I mean, it was that blew my mind because, I mean, obviously everyone was, that screenshot of Rodgers on 3rd and goal, the open lane that he had to take it into the end zone. Obviously it's the perfect picture angle. There probably was going to be defenders, honing in on him if he was to have taken off and run there. But, dude, it's 3rd and goal. He ends up throwing an incomplete pass out the back of the end zone or to Davante Adams in the end zone. But he could have at least gotten them closer so that they could have had better play calls for their red zone. One of those quick little outs to Davante Adams that has worked miraculously all season. They could have had that opportunity. But Rodgers, he just didn't see it. I don't know if he just thought he couldn't get it. But then LaFleur's decision to kick the field goal just blew my mind, man. I mean, at that point, you don't know that Tom Brady's going to throw another pick, that next possession and give you another chance. You have to take that and just say, hey, man, I think LaFleur was nervous to put that play or his entire season on that one play, and that's just his experience showing right there. I think that's where Rodgers needs to override him. Yeah,
the guy's got no balls, man.
If
that was Andy Reid, he'd throw it, man. If Patrick
easy.
Mahomes was in that situation, you think Harrison Butker's going to kick a field goal?
No.
Are you kidding me? You got
Absolutely
the
not.
MVP. Even though if he throws that pass, I still doubt it because they got stuck, man. They couldn't get anything. And I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, he had that open lane to run for the touchdown. I saw it, and I was like, at least go for it, because even if you're close, and then you could just run it in, 1-2 yard line if you get stopped at the 1 or 2. But he didn't even go for it. He forced the pass. Nothing was there. It was great defense, man. There was nobody open, but he had the opportunity to be the hero.
Yep.
He had an open lane and a couple of yards, run it in, and get the 2-point conversion, and we got a ball game. We got OT pretty much, man. We could have had a legendary shootout, but damn, that ending. Damn, man.
I know. I felt
Come on, Rodgers.
For such an iconic season, too, man. I mean, he threw what?
MVP?
5 picks? Threw 5 picks, I mean, it was unbelievable. He's probably going to be the MVP, being it a regular season award. Votes are already casted. We'll hear that in the next, week or two. This was a. I mean, I think everybody saw this being a good game. Tom Brady was just teasing Rodgers, keeping him in that game, making horrible decision. There were a couple. There was a tip ball that I thought Mike Evans could have caught. I think that 2 were on
Missed
Brady
it.
and 1
Too high,
was
man. It was too high.
There were 2 that Mike Evans tipped and were picked off. So that was kind of the big issue. I thought Godwin played very well, especially with AB being out. AB being out and coming back, hopefully for the Super Bowl, will add obviously another weapon to their arsenal. He's been a touchdown machine since he's joined. It'll be fun to see this Chiefs defense playing against them. So why don't we switch gears over to Bills and Chiefs, Zoo? What were your thoughts on that one? I mean, pretty much what you expected.
I knew it, man. I knew it. I said they're going to go back-to-back. They are like the Golden State Warriors, just slapping every opponent they play. Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Do you know what he does? Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. That's what he does, man. Those are his offensive possessions, man. The only one that they had to kick the ball back because Tyreek Hill dropped the pass, man. That was the only possession that they didn't get points. Tyreek dropped the pass, the fastest man alive. It's too obvious. Travis Kelce is too good. Even Mecole Hardman, after that Ball. Dude, they gave the Bills a free touchdown, man. They spotted that team, the Bills, 6 points because they missed the extra point. They spotted them 6 points, and they still whooped them, man. It's like not trying against you. It's like you playing against an elementary school kid, man. Give the kid, man, let him get some easy buckets, man. Let him be a 5-0 feeling real good, and then you crush his soul, man. You crush his soul. Mahomes like.
I don't know.
Comparing Josh Allen to me? You compare that offense to me? Stop,
dude.
Stop.
You're giving Mahomes way too much credit when on most of their scoring possessions it was all yards after catch or run. Man, Mecole Hardman 50-yard run sets up a 4-yard easy pass screen. That's an easy throw.
I give you that.
Look, he looked like he was cheating on that one run after catch where he went for 70 yards. I'm sitting here like, okay, yeah, Mahomes is great and he can make all these throws. He's probably could end up being.
He doesn't miss throws like Brady.
But dude, what? We're gonna be able to see this matchup, man, and I'm very pumped because I know you're all riding the Chiefs. You already got them winning it all. I don't know, man. I don't see Brady making those similar.
I'm telling you. If he throws 3 picks, he's losing by 2 touchdowns.
He's not throwing. You want to bet if he throws 3 picks or not? There's no chance that's happening to him this time around.
Well, he better, man, because that will be a boring Super Bowl.
It would be a very boring
Super Bowl.
I don't want another Patriots-Rams type game, 15-7, something like that. I want like a 35-28 type game. 35-32.
All I know is my man will show up. I don't know about Brady. But Mahomes will show up.
I know Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, they're for sure going to show up, and Mahomes just has to toss the ball in their general direction, and they're wide open every time.
Perfect accuracy.
You want to know why?
Right in the palm of their hands, man.
You want to know why?
What do you mean? Why?
I'm saying because Andy Reid is so good at getting them wide open. It's like watching Alabama play. I swear to God, like there's always a difference between college football open and NFL open, right? In the NFL, you see guys throwing their wide receivers open, putting it in an open area and making guys lay out. And Michael Thomas has made a living off that so far, just diving 10-yard catches all the time. When you watch the Chiefs play, man, there is very minimal contested plays when Mahomes is throwing the ball, and that has nothing to do with Mahomes. And Mahomes, I'm not knocking Mahomes for that. I'm praising Andy Reid. This guy put together arguably with obviously his personnel, but his play calling is immaculate. That second quarter was one of the best quarters of offensive football I have ever seen. I mean, 21 points, unbelievable. The Bills were in the game in the first quarter. I mean, they were up 9-0. I was checking the score like, wow, we got a game here. And boom, Andy Reid just drops a couple more.
I was like 9-0. It's time for Mahomes to get some TDs, man.
That's when you bet on the Chiefs, man. That's when you bet on the Chiefs on a nice little
I made 5 bets on the Chiefs, man. Every round of football they played, I bet on them to win. Every round of football, man. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bet some more money on the Chiefs to win.
I know you will. Bet
on Mahomes to win Super Bowl MVP because he will be the reason why they win, man. It won't be because of the defense. It won't be because of the running back. It'll be because of Mahomes.
No, I think I genuinely believe that Travis Kelce will win Super Bowl MVP this year if he does. Because we know how Mahomes played in last Super Bowl. And it was not that great.
He was not that impressive.
He had probably one of his worst games of his career in the Super Bowl. And now he's facing an opponent that has a legitimate offense. The 49ers offense, they have a great running game, and yeah, they have a great defense. Last year, obviously, they had injuries. This year, and that's why they're not in the playoffs at all. But man, this Bucs defense is probably the most balanced team the Chiefs will play this year. They expose the Bills. They expose the Bills, and you really can't. Josh Allen. The thing that the Bills have to do, and I do want to applaud them on the season, they're taking steps in the right direction. From losing early in the playoffs. They're making the AFC Championship game now. This could be a recurring matchup in the playoffs or in the championship game in the AFC for a couple of years now. But they really have to work on their backfield. If they are going to
running backs are atrocious.
Now, Zach Moss could be good. He was on IR. He missed all the playoffs. Not saying it would have made a difference or anything, but if they can develop him, Singletary just doesn't seem to be working out, and they're relying way too much on Josh Allen.
Allen's the running back. He's the
running back, and I mean, he rushed 7 times for almost 90 yards. I mean, that's ridiculous. First of all, I mean, that's Lamar Jackson type numbers, but you can't put everything on his shoulders. They draped Stephon Diggs all game. I mean, it was just the Chiefs just had a better game plan, and that's the inexperience of the Bills versus the experience of Andy Reid. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do there in Kansas City, but I think it's going to be halted.
Do I smell a bet?
Well, I think we're going to talk Super Bowl predictions next week, Zoo, if I remember correctly. Just doing NFL championship game reactions. But yeah, I think there may be a bet in line. Maybe not a straight up, maybe a spread if you're interested.
I'll give you 3 points, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs are probably going to come out maybe, even though the Bucks technically are at home. But I don't play. I mean, like you said, there's no fans, so I mean, and I think the fans that are going to be there are going to be like corporate type fans. So I don't think it will really be Bucks fans there.
They'll be quiet up in the suites.
Yeah, I do think a couple of things. I think Kelsey, he could have a really good shot at being the MVP. Like I say, it'll probably be giving him Mahomes because they always give it to the quarterback, whoever wins, unless he throws 900 interceptions. But I'm saying I think Kelsey, just because his impact, and I think he has a chance to be to have a huge game. Because I don't care who, I don't think Kelsey this year. I've seen a stat line where it's he had an okay game. He's every game he has, he's balling. Yeah. Every game. There's no answer for him, and it's kind of crazy. He plays like a receiver, so I can see him having 10 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's MVP numbers. I could see that easily.
Absolutely. But there have been worse NFL MVPs.
Okay, I'm just telling you, if Travis Kelce gets the 150 yards or 130 yards, you know how many yards Mahomes have? 350 at least. Yeah. And if Mahomes got 350 at least with multiple touchdowns, he's getting the Super Bowl.
As long as he's not turning the ball over, I agree with you. But I do think
Mahomes has a TD to interception ratio of 5.
What about Rodgers?
What about
Rodgers? His was 10. His was 10.
He was 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He threw 1 pick.
And they lost.
Yeah,
and that was with Brady throwing 3 picks. So if Brady doesn't throw 3 picks, then that game is a blowout. That game is an absolute blowout. And that's something you got to be aware of. If you're basing it completely on the Bucs playing exactly the same way that they played the Packers. They're in warm weather, okay? They're not up in Lambeau Field anymore. That's completely different. When he's chucking that ball up in the air, the wind is not going to be getting a hold of it. You got to take all this stuff into account when it comes to mistakes that could possibly happen. And I don't see Brady making as many mistakes. I don't see Mahomes making that many mistakes. So it's really going to come down to which defense do you trust more?
Yeah. And that's is that what you're saying? No, it's which quarterback I trust more and which weapons I trust.
And you trust Mahomes more than Tom Brady?
Yes.
Okay. Jimmy G almost outplayed him last year. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Just stop it, man.
I think I'll give Mahomes some bail because it kind of if you go back and look at Brady, I feel like Mahomes played better than what Brady played in his first playoff or Super Bowl. Brady was just a game manager, so I think Mahomes is probably his first Super Bowl jitters. I think he's going to be fine. I think it's going to come down to who gets the ball last. Honestly, whoever has the last possession and somebody maybe there's tit for tat touchdowns and then somebody has a field goal, then whoever has it last gets a touchdown probably wins. I feel like that's how it's going to go. It just feels like that's the level of the quarterbacks. But speaking of elite quarterbacks, we're going to switch to the sweepstakes of Deshaun Watson. A lot of the teams, I guess middle of the road teams that are contenders, teams that are high in the draft are all trying to vie for his services. I guess he's officially made it known that he wants to be traded. Found out today he has a no trade clause, so that's going to be pretty clutch in terms of putting himself in a position where he can play for a team that he really wants to play for. So I'm going to ask the guys, what destination do you see him as the best fit? What do you think he goes? And Zio, I want you to lead this off.
This is Ryan Pace's opportunity to redeem himself from the failure of a GM that he has, because he got this golden opportunity to redeem himself of getting the quarterback that he passed up on, and he's unhappy. And what do you got? You got some draft picks, man. What do you got? You got some nice defensive players that you could throw in there. Future first-round picks, man. Give them all, man. Whatever the NFL allows, give it all away to redeem yourself, because this franchise has not had a competent QB in its entire existence.
You're not wrong. I mean, their best
existence.
It's their best quarterback.
They're allergic of getting a cute franchise quarterback, and Deshaun Watson wants out. Make a push. Put all the chips in the middle. Don't lose out to the Jets. Don't lose out to Miami. You got one of the best fan bases in the NFL, and you guys have been disrespecting your fans for decades. Disrespectful. Soldier Field in the hole. Why the hell would I?
You're preaching to the choir.
Why would you go to Soldier Field, cold ass city, on a stupid ass team with Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman, Mitchell Trubisky?
Rex Grossman is
pathetic.
Hey, Rex Grossman has the same NFC Championship wins as Aaron Rodgers, so you need to.
No, it's the defense got the NFC Championship, man. Sometimes it's the QB, and sometimes it's the defense. That ain't Rex Grossman's championship. You got to carry him, man. Yeah. My Lord. And if Deshaun Watson played with Allen Robinson with that defense, man, 10 wins at least. They get 10 wins.
If they were to trade for Deshaun and, let's say they get rid of Khalil Mack and draft capital, they'd have to franchise tag Allen Robinson. But I think that he would actually be willing to sign a contract with the Bears if they got Watson. But Zoo, you know one of my favorite movies of all time is Seven, right? With Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt. You know what Seven Deadly Sin Ryan Pace has? Pride. This man will not admit his wrongdoing. Everyone else in the city of Chicago has acknowledged that he messed up and that Watson is the better option. He's the only one, along with maybe some of the ownership and the president of football operations. They're all dead set on saying, no, we'll just start anew, blah, blah, blah. But I agree. I mean, if they really want to prove that they're trying to win and not just be a mediocre team year in and year out, maybe have a good year here and there, get a good record, go to the first round and lose because you don't have a star quarterback. That's something that they're going to have to address. But are they willing to part ways with Khalil Mack? Personally, yes. I think they easily should. You can fill a defensive end and still get good production. Khalil Mack's production, teams are double teaming, triple teaming him at this point, to the point where his sack numbers are way down. He still affects the game heavily, and everybody knows that. But Watson affects it more, and that's something that there's only been arguably one defensive player who has affected his team more than an offensive player, and that was Lawrence Taylor. And that's coming straight out of Bill Belichick's mouth. He single-handedly brought that team from 2-14 to the playoffs year over year, and he was the only addition. It's pretty ridiculous to think about that there aren't many defensive players that can be that game-changing, which is why the Bears need to go all in on Watson. But if I am being rational, Zoo, that is not happening. Let's be honest. I am a Bears fan at this point. I put all hope out the window. There's no more hope. They make me believe every year. Zoo knows that more than anybody, and they just continue to let me down. So I think there are a couple other places where he could fit well and where teams could give them, give Houston a decent amount of return. I think the Dolphins are a big one. You mentioned them, Zoo. They have solid weapons. They have an unreal defense. They're a young team. The only thing is they do have a decent amount of draft capital, so they might not even need to move Tua, or maybe move Tua in a 3-team trade, possibly getting just him off of the payroll, because they are going to have to afford Watson. But other teams like the Niners, the Niners getting the Jimmy G situation is kind of fallen downhill. He took them to a Super Bowl, injuries. He quote unquote
he didn't take him to the Super Bowl. He was riding that defense, man, to the Super Bowl.
But he's all right. He still had inefficiencies, and he was a game manager. That's all he was brought in to be. They had a stud running.
He didn't get paid like a game manager.
He sure wasn't. But they had the money to give, and they wanted the hype. And look, it got them to a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. If they had C.J. Beathard at the helm, they would not have gotten to a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. Jimmy G did enough. He did his job. Granted, Zoo, there are players across sports that are overpaid more than anything you could ever think of, man. It's probably some of the most overpaid industry in the world is in sports and entertainment right now. But the Niners, they'd arguably have to move Jimmy G as well as draft picks. They may need to bring in a third team. But I think the Panthers could actually be the best situation for him. And you want to know why?
Teddy Bridgewater.
They did, but they could trade him. It's part of a trade, right? They trade Teddy Bridgewater. You put him with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey. That's a pretty nasty offense. With to that point, then they can just solely focus on continuing to build that defense. Because once they have that quarterback, man, they have the weapons. Everybody knows that. They have a decent offensive line, one of the best backs in the league, with 2 solid wide receivers, one being a borderline Pro Bowler in DJ Moore. You give him Deshaun Watson, man, that's an even more stacked division in the NFC South now than ever before. But look, I think there's a lot of options. Apparently, Deshaun's going to have a say in it. That's good for him. We'll see how it turns out, man. This will be interesting.
Oh, man,
it's a big name. This is a big trade, man. You don't see this that often in the NFL. Big trade.
It's crazy, man. But if I'm the Jets, I'm offering everything. I'll offer him a share of the team if he comes, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing everything to get him on. Second overall pick, who cares? Sam Darnold, take him. Future draft picks, take all of them, man. They need everything. Yeah. But I have a question for you. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you trade Trevor Lawrence?
No. It's not. They don't have. They're so young. They don't have the weapons around him for Deshaun to just walk in.
That's it.
The Dolphins, the Panthers, even the Bears, they all have solid weapons that he could work with. And, come in and, he might struggle for a couple games, with the offensive system. But I don't know. I mean, that's a big gamble, and I don't know if Urban Meyer is willing to take that, as his first coaching move. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting, and who knows? They might pull the trigger on that. And if I were the Texans, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'd take that one and take Trevor Lawrence, man. Absolutely. Yeah. No question.
Really quick. I just thought of one. And I think I saw this. I might have seen, somebody might have said this, and I just heard about it earlier this week. So if you're the Rams, you got to give up somebody. You have your 2 superstars, Ramsey and Donald. Which one are you giving up for Watson?
Jalen Ramsey.
Ramsey.
No way.
Aaron Donald is the heart and soul of their team.
Oh, man. I know, but God, I know that, but Donald, to me, I feel like is one of the best players in the league, but I also feel like Ramsey has a bigger effect just because I feel like he shuts down the number 1 guy every time. Nobody eats. Devontae ate against him, but Aaron Rodgers was throwing him the ball. So, Devontae's going to eat because he got one of the best quarterbacks throwing him the ball. I just feel like not Darnold, but Donald. You just don't hear oh man, he made he was. I don't know he was hurt, so he was hurt in the NFC.
He's drawn. He's their Khalil Mack, man. He doesn't sack the ball, but dude, he's creating opportunities for the. You want to know why Leonard Floyd had a resurgence in his career? It's because Aaron Donald's on the same line as him. He struggled playing alongside Khalil Mack, arguably because they were on opposite sides, right? So they're kind of not really drawing attention away from each other. But when you have Donald that dominant and that quick, dude, he does not look like a D tackle. Let's be honest. He's short. He's not obviously he's a big dude, but he's not like a Vince Wilfork. He's not an Akeem Hicks on the Bears.
Was athletic as hell. Exactly,
but Donald's he's probably the closest thing we've had to a Lawrence Taylor, to be honest. If I'm saying
super dominant.
Super dominant, and to the point where he just draws attention. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey might take away your number 1 option, but in this day and age, most good teams have 2 wide receiver options, right? The Rams do, and they're on their own team.
Cam Akers.
And they got Cam Akers, right? They're playing across of DK and Tyler Lockett. One of those 2 guys is going to eat at some point. Yeah. It's just who is Jalen going to be guarding all game. But, dude, I mean, the other thing is cornerbacks can get injured a lot, and I know Donald can too. But, man, if you're talking about a leader on that team, that's Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey's just a monster player. He's not as much of a leader as Donald is.
I also think, too, another underrated factor is Deshaun, if you follow his career, he's been in warm weather places. So I feel like LA would be a nice transition. New York and Chicago, those December games, I'm not saying he wouldn't play well, but that's just a different type of cold. If you've been he's been in the South his entire life, so it's a little tough. That's what
Georgia to Clemson to Houston. Yeah, that's true.
So,
Houston's had a rough go of sports, man, for the past couple of years.
Deshaun Watson, I want out of here. James Harden, I want out of here.
Astros cheating in the playoffs. Like, come on, man. They need to catch a break sometime soon.
Yeah, they really haven't had any type of luck with all their, I guess, I don't know how they're doing in soccer, but I mean, I guess who cares because nobody really covers soccer, especially on this podcast. But we will be switching to the last topic, which I think is going to cause a lot of reaction. We're starting to do a thing where we're comparing players of the past and trying to see who we think is the better player. And tonight, we will be talking about Isiah Thomas versus John Stockton. Now, for many people that don't know, there's a lot of beef between these two. I don't know personally if they have any beef, but like I guess internet or like world beef is, the whole dream team thing. A lot of people want to debate who they think is like, I guess, that era point guard who they think is number one. But I'm gonna let these guys duke it out and decide the better player between Isiah Thomas and John Stockton. And P. Bush, I know where you're going, so go ahead and tell the folks who you pick.
Dude, when we were discussing doing this topic, I was like, this is easy. I'm going Isiah Thomas all the way, right? Everyone thinks he's more explosive. He scored more. But when you really delve into it, man, John Stockton owns him in almost every single category. This man is listen to me, Zoo. I don't want to hear it. You listen right here. Okay. This man is the career NBA leader in assists and steals. That's 40% of the 5 major statistical categories. He is the NBA historical leader. Okay? That's pretty impressive. He's an elite perimeter defender, right? He's made numerous first all-NBA teams or defensive teams. He made first all-NBA teams as well, second NBA teams, Isiah Thomas. Isiah Thomas had injury problems, man. This was a problem. His prime... Look at this. His prime, they're actually, if you look at it, their primes were about the same length. They were about 9 years. John Stockton took a lot longer to kind of come into his own, whereas Isaiah's averages actually dropped as he got older. And that's likely because, the Pistons were adding a ton of offense. They had Adrian Dantley averaging 18 a game, Joe Dumars, Vinnie Johnson, other guys as well. Bill Laimbeer even averaged 15 a game. But if you look at the 2 finals, dude, this man won 2 finals, and I don't want to say this wrong because he did win back-to-back, and that's very impressive. But man, he couldn't have had it happen at a better time. The Celtics and Lakers going like this, Jordan hadn't reached that yet, and he was there right at the perfect time, and I don't blame him for that. But he wasn't even a Finals MVP both times. He wasn't the best player, and the reason why they won both times. Now, Stockton never won, which is totally fair, but he had to go through Michael Jordan. And I can't blame him for that either. That's something that most people would write off. That's why Gary Payton never won in Seattle. He did win in Miami, obviously, kind of a fluke. But, man, this is – and I know, dude, you're going to hate everything, but, man, he had a better field goal percentage. He had better three-point percentage, more efficient player, better defender, better passer. The only thing that IT has on him is his explosiveness. That was the one thing that he had was his driving ability. Other than that, he beats him statistically in every single category.
Okay, let's first break it down. First of all, he won a Finals MVP, so he was the best player.
I said he won 1 of 2.
Okay,
I said that.
Left that out.
Okay. You're making it seem that Isiah was riding the coattails of Joe Dumars. Hell no.
They averaged the same both finals, so kind of.
Stop with the.
They both averaged 18 a game, as did Adrian Dantley.
John Stockton, if you break it down as simply as possible, is a pass-first point guard, man. He's not the primary scorer. He's the guy that passes to people. The problem with pass-first point guards is if your teammates are garbage, there's nobody to pass it to. You pass it to guys that brick in shots, man. I want a point guard that can take over and get buckets and distribute, man. Because then if my teammates start missing, I can take over. Man, John Stockton ain't no taking over any games. He was not a great scorer. The brother averaged 13 points a game, man. In my books, that's mediocre. 13 a game? Come on, man. Kobe White of the Chicago Bulls averaging more than that right now, man. John Stockton is averaging 13 points per game, man. And also, he's a great assist man. Do you know why?
The best.
He got lots of assists. because he had the second leading scorer of all time in Karl Malone.
So is Magic a bad passer?
No, he's a great passer.
Okay. Oh, he's a great. Everybody played with Kareem.
I'm just saying.
You can't make that call.
I'm just saying. Okay, those all-time assists. Okay, he got those assists.
Yeah.
But you got to look at the context of those assists, man. You got Karl Malone dropping over 30,000 points.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, you're talking Isiah Thomas. The guy averaged 9 assists for his career, 19-9. So he was primary ball handler, primary scorer on his team, and primary distributor.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a creator and a bucket getter.
Dude, but what I don't understand is one, and yes, sure, if you're asking who you'd want on your team for one season, is that what you're saying? Right? You saying I want?
If I'm starting a franchise and I got nobody else, I don't know who the rest of my team is. I'm taking Isiah Thomas because I need a guy that can get a bucket and distribute. John Stockton is very dependent on teammates.
Yes, obviously, but the man shot 52% for his career. When he was asked to score, he did it efficiently.
Baby.
Because he played with a guy who scored 30,000 points a game, and he deferred to him because he knew he had the advantage over him. Why are you knocking him for that? I don't understand.
Maybe he was a little more aggressive. He got a title.
That's not true at all.
They were a great team, and they won 6 games both series, man. Maybe John Stockton had a little more Steph Curry in his brain. They would have won the series.
Maybe that's sure, but that's not how it was back then. That's just not how it was. The reason the Pistons won is that
Isiah Thomas played in the 80s and 90s, and he broke the mold.
Yeah, because they had 8 players who were averaging double digits a game. 8 players. You want to know what team that reminds me of? The Miami Heat, man. Currently, they have balanced scoring. Not one person on any Pistons team, when they won, averaged 20 a game. Not one. Mm-hmm. You want to know why? Because they facilitated the ball. It didn't have to all be on Isiah Thomas. And that's why, he was a monster. His first couple years, he was averaging 22 and 13 a game because they had nobody else. And that's fine. But he was not winning. He was not winning during those years. And that's just a fact. Whereas everybody needs their teammates, but how well do you play with those teammates? Isiah Thomas, he won championships. That's fine. But he had injury issues. He retired at 32. That's a little sketchy for me. That was partially his gameplay. John Stockton played till he was 40, man. He played 19 seasons. He consistently never averaged under double digits and consistently averaged over 12 assists a game. Once again, it kind of goes back to last week. It's what you want. Do you want longevity or do you want peak prime? And in this situation, I would actually prefer longevity in my point guard. Now, in a shooting guard, I would take prime all day because they're my primary scorer, not my point guard. I would prefer traditional point guards, unless your name's Derrick Rose.
I had a question. Well, not really a question, kind of like a statement. You do realize, and I'm going with Isiah Thomas, but you do realize Isiah broke Michael Jordan.
No, he didn't.
He broke Michael Jordan.
The coach.
And then Michael Jordan came back once, I guess he had like the Breakfast Club and all that stuff. And he finally came back. People say it was age, but he broke Michael Jordan. And if you really go back and look at it, the Pistons lost to Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen because they kind of got a little older and started breaking down. It wasn't because Isiah wasn't any good. Like when Isiah and them, and they were all at their apex, he was killing Michael Jordan.
Bro,
Stockton couldn't beat Jordan.
Dude,
Isiah's the only, and that's why everybody hated Isiah and took him off the Dream Team because he was the only one that was kicking Michael Jordan's ass. To me, that means a lot, dude.
Sure.
And Larry Bird.
Okay, but if you're talking about, all right, they're getting old, they're falling away. Then why did Michael Jordan win all of his championships in his 30s? Isiah Thomas could not, man. He was winning at age 28.
He was like 5'10". He was like 5'10".
I don't give a damn.
I know John Stockton.
They're the same height. They're 6'1". Isiah Thomas is bigger than John Stockton. He's got 10 pounds on him.
John Stockton couldn't beat Jordan, though. And he had Karl Malone to do it. Isiah didn't have no Karl Malone on his team.
Okay, sure. How was Scottie Pippen playing when he played the Pistons? Non-existent, man. He was not the Scottie that you're thinking of.
I get it. But I'm saying
he was by himself.
Yeah.
He was with his second best option at that time was Horace Grant. And it's like, okay, you're talking about a team in the Pistons that has 3 Hall of Famers at that time on their team, and Joe Dumars, Isiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman. Bill Laimbeer, arguably the best sixth man of all time, and Vinny the Microwave Johnson, man. The guy could come in. He played like 15 minutes a game, and he averaged 15 a game.
Yeah.
He'd average in 15 minutes like 15 points. They had a deep team, and
deep team.
And that's actually why I'm most surprised of why IT's assist numbers didn't actually increase as he got older. They actually decreased along with his points per game. He steadily declined throughout his career, whereas a lot of players end up kind of, they go through different phases. Look at John Stockton, man. He was between 13 and 18 points per game for about 15 straight seasons. 15 straight seasons. They consistently were in it. But if you're looking for pure talent, sure, take Isiah Thomas. But if I'm looking for a team leader, I'm going John Stockton all the way. I don't want a guy who's just walking off the court after he loses.
Stop it, man. You're holding that against him, man. You're holding that against him.
Yeah, because it was his idea.
Dude, I don't give a damn, man. If you lose, I love when they become petty, man. Petty is great for the NBA, man. Dude, MJ is still petty too, man. Yeah, he's still holding that grudge after 3 decades.
They hate each other.
I love it. I love a man that this man got Michael Jordan to hate him. That is
only Reggie Miller's the other one.
Yeah,
only Reggie Miller.
That is incredible, man. His competitiveness. And what are you talking about? He beat the Lakers and Celtics in their prime, man.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas is Detroit Pistons team.
88, 89. Yeah. Dude, he beat him in 89.
Yeah, dude.
Actually, wait, that was the year after Kareem left. Yeah. Kareem wasn't on that team.
He was doing.
The Celtics.
That's what I think.
So he beat the Lakers with what? Magic and James Worthy?
Yeah.
Oh.
And when they lost, Isiah broke his ankles, man, in the finals, man.
That is, I will never harp on Isiah Thomas for that. That is one of the best game highlights I've ever seen. Is him hobbling.
How did he play on a broken ankle, man? And drop like 25 points.
The only other guy I can ever think of is Willis Reed in 1970, played in Game 7 of the finals with a torn ACL. That's pretty impressive. Those are probably the two best injury playoff moments in NBA history. But look, I just personally like John Stockton, man. I just thought he was a more balanced player overall as a basketball player than Isiah Thomas ever was.
Yeah, you take that pass first point guard, man. They don't win. Except
that's
Magic. Fair. Yeah, I would say Magic Johnson's the outlier because the man was 6'9".
Exactly.
If you think about it too, like with Isiah, I just thought of this. He really is the only little guard that, like, I don't know, one may come to my head, but like a little guard who is like him being the best player on the team won a championship.
I would also include Steph Curry.
I'd include Curry, and the closest to come to it was AI.
Yeah, he got.
I think if you look at it, like, obviously Allen Iverson had much more bounce, but like he clearly watched a lot of Isiah Thomas growing up. AI, he loved those little stop jumpers, the mid range game. I mean, Isiah Thomas, his finishing around the rim was ridiculous. He just could not shoot to save his life, man. I mean, he could not shoot the three, but it wasn't a part of the game. It wasn't a part of the game. But then again, for their careers, him and Stockton attempted the same amount of threes per game. So, and Stockton was up about 12% on him, I think, in 3-point percentage.
Oh, yeah. He was a much better shooter, man. John Stockton is a pure shooter.
And he's just I think he's a more efficient player than Isiah Thomas was. And that takes into account everything. That he's an all-time steals leader, all-time assists leader. He's a great perimeter defender. He can shoot efficiently and three-pointers. I don't know what else you want to say about that, man. If he was asked to do more, he could have done more. I think that's my point.
Do you know what was asked of him? To beat the Chicago Bulls, or at least force a Game 7, man.
But you know who choked more in those series? Carmelo, man. As Scottie Pippen says, he didn't
miss a damn free throw, man.
He did not deliver on mailman. Don't deliver on Sundays, man.
Mailman.
Damn.
Oh man, yeah. I think Isiah. I think if you switch roles, like if they switch teams, I'm not saying Stockton is not on the level of Isiah. Like, they're comparable players, but I don't know if Stockton may get one. I think he may get one, but I don't know if he leads Detroit how Isiah would have led Detroit. And I think Isiah would have did the same thing
He
Stockton did.
averaged 18 and 8 in both finals, man. Like, that's not finals MVP numbers. It just isn't. Joe Dumars averaged about the same in both finals. Same with Adrian Dantley. They just gave it because it was Isiah
don't bring up
Thomas.
Adrian Dantley, man.
Dumars was a dog, though. I will give you that.
True.
Again,
And that's why he won.
Joe Dumars was an elite defender, but man, don't bring up Adrian Dantley.
Why not?
Who was the other guy?
That was a problem child.
They had Mark Aguirre, too.
Oh,
Mark
that's
Aguirre averaged 17 a game.
Wasn't Bill Lambier on that team, too?
Bill Lambier was on that team.
Enforcer.
Yeah. You want to know who broke Jordan? That is who broke Jordan. Actually, no, I know Isiah Thomas kind of probably got Jordan to the level of competitiveness that he is.
Definitely.
So I actually think Jordan will never admit it, but he actually appreciates that. He'll never admit that to Isiah, but he knows that that's what got him to where he was, right? But the guy that broke Jordan was actually the Pistons head coach, man. He was the one that implemented the Jordan rules. He had those players doing that shit. Bill Lambier, man, he was the Zaza Pachulia of the 80s, man. Like, that's – I don't know, dude. It
was physical assault. Like it was legit physical assault. Like, it was not basketball. Like,
also,
and I hate. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to shout out that Adrian Dantley's career average is 24 games. So, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He's an absolute Hall of Fame monster. Okay, that is 4 Hall of Famers on that team, and he won Finals MVP once with the same numbers as a comparable player who won the year prior to him. So. I don't know what you got to say. I think his finals MVPs are a little bit less valued than others because he did not carry that team by himself like the LeBron Jameses do, the Michael Jordans do, hell, like the Karl Malones, the Hakeem Olajuwons can do, or Shaquille O'Neal's, man. He's not on that level. He's on the level of John Stockton, and that's just a fact. I would actually love to see that Pistons team play that Jazz team. That would be a hell of a matchup, and I think the Pistons would win.
Yeah,
just because they're huge. They were huge, and they were balanced. They had the best rebounder of all time. It's ridiculous how stacked that team was for that short of a time span. It's actually a miracle, and everyone forgets about him.
Yeah, I think we might have done some foreshadowing with AI. I think I might include him in a versus next week. I got to figure out a matchup because I feel like
that'd be a good one.
He can have a lot of interesting matchups. And I don't know if it has to be a guard. I mean, it would be fair if it's a guard, but I have to do some thinking on that. But it's all the time we have for tonight. A lot of heated discussion, especially in that last topic with Isiah and John Stockton. Like I said, we're going to have more of those towards the end. And, sometimes it'll be short, sometimes it'll be long. But as usual, make sure you guys follow us at bullheaded_pod. Putting up content daily, 7 days a week. Make sure you guys follow us on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, all the streaming platforms so you can listen to this great content. And as usual, for Zoo, P. Bush, and me, we out.